Hi, my name is Robie Harris. I'm a children's book author. I write nonfiction. I also write picture books. And I was lucky enough to be a graduate student many, many long years ago at the Bank Street College. I worked at the Bank Street After School Center. I did a film many years ago about children, and I taught in the School for Children. And most excitingly for me, I was part of the Bank Street Publications Department and worked with many wonderful writers, just where Margaret Wise Brown worked.
I'm Leonard Marcus, a children's book historian and critic, and author of the biography Margaret Wise Brown, Awakened by the Moon.
Leonard, I'm just so curious about the fact that you wrote this marvelous book about Margaret Wise Brown. How did that happen? How did you stumble across this and decide to write this book?
Well, it really was a question of stumbling. In college, I'd written about the history of children's books going back to the early 19th century. But when I moved to New York, I was in a bookstore one evening, no longer thinking particularly about children's books, when I happened to spot a copy of Goodnight Moon on the front table in the store, a book I had never heard of before. I read it at a time when I was writing a lot of poetry myself, and I thought, wow, this person was able to write a poem for a very young child that also sends a chill up my spine. And I became very curious about who had managed to do this remarkable thing. And as someone who had come to New York to get a writing career started and was interested in a general way in the genre of biography, the thought occurred to me that perhaps I would want to write a biography of the poet for children who pulled off this incredible feat. Well, 10 years later, I was done. So, Robie, Little Fur Family is not only a special story, but the format, the way the book was physically created, is very unusual for children's books. And I was wondering if you would describe the way it was published and also talk a little bit about why that would have special appeal for young children.
Well, that book first came out, was it 1946,
That's right.
Leonard?
Mm-hmm.
And Margaret Wise Brown, and you know this even better than I do, loved fur, had, a fur chair, fur rug, walls in a room?
She had fur everything.
Fur everything. And when you make the link to young children, of course, what do they like to do? They like to touch something soft and cuddly and hold it and just go to sleep with it or curl up with it. And what does it do? It makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel safe. And I think that stories can do that. I write. I can't draw for beans. And she had the marvelous Garth Williams for Little Fur Family. But the fact of the combination of, and in even this edition, there's fur here that a child can touch. That combination, along with the words, this story, Little Fur Family, is, starts, you can imagine a young child, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, or a 5-year-old holding up, or a 70-year-old right here, right now. This book makes me feel comfortable. When I read the story, which I'll do in a few minutes, when I read this story, I feel like I can go out into the world, I can see fish, I can be in the woods, just like this child in Little Fur Family. And I'm okay, because you know what? I can go back home again. And so I think comfort is all the way through this story, and I think that's one of the things that draws in children. And children feel scared when they go out into the world or do something new. But if you can come back home and you have this soft, comfortable place to come back to, usually your mommy or your daddy, then the world's okay.
Yeah.
But I was saying to Elizabeth, I have editors telling me, don't repeat words, don't repeat words.
Yeah.
And this is so over and over, and it
it's just
gives
structured.
It gives the pacing is just so comfortable.
Yeah.
And she repeats stuff again and again. Or if you make a sound, an editor will say, you said kerchoo, don't say kerplunk. Could you come up with something else? Well, there's something. She's got it. It's really fascinating.
No, you feel kind of embraced by it. I think, because
and that too, which I actually don't think I'd ever read.
Yeah, it's not the best known of her books, but I just happened to find it at the top of my heap when I started trying to read all of her books, and I was blown away by it. Wow. She's got the dogwood tree. It's a dog's world. Everything about this world is just right for these guys.
And she owes it all to Bank Street, right?
Every single bit.
Yeah, right.